Never seen anything like this before, have you, Griff?
Got my Tims today, and hey, today is Sunday, and we're here. It's time for a coffee with Conti. Got a quick new feature that I want to try and do with you guys each and every Sunday. Talk about that in just a second. Here's what I want to talk about is Corvette. That's what this channel is all about. But how you feel when you own Corvette. More importantly, I want you to think just for a second so you can kind of reflect back, not to forget where you started and where you came from, so you appreciate this amazing car and its heritage. Think about for a second the very first time that you ever drove a Corvette. Here's my son, the first time he ever drove a Corvette. Now, did you see that face? You can never duplicate that face or that feeling. That makes me so proud seeing that and sharing the moments that I've shared with you guys on the channel with Ryan and I, him driving the car, now getting into racing and tracking with me. It's really something. Thank you again for being here today. And I can think back at all the years that I've been representing Corvette. I didn't own one for a long time, as you guys know, but when I would go to dealer training as the car would transition to one generation to a next, I kind of was that guy with that big grin on my face and so impressed that, wow, I didn't know there was that much room for improvement. I was really excited about Corvette from day one and even more so now. So right now, I'm actually on the way back from Paragon Performance in Iowa, and we'll have a number of clips to share with you guys, including the reveal of Michael's new 2024 Corvette. Good friend of mine, he's bought a lot of cars. This guy's a car guy. He's creative and he's fun, and you're gonna love the spec. And more importantly, let me give you a little hint. Out of all the Corvettes that he's had, this particular one will be more special than any other Corvette. You'll see why next Sunday right here on our Coffee with Conti show. Aww. So next week I want to try a new feature with you guys, just some fun acknowledgement. I got the idea when I got this wonderful text from Buddy in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada. Thank you so much, Buddy, for watching the channel. He said, Rick, can you do a shout out for me on the channel? And I said, you know what? Let's acknowledge a lot of people that watch this channel, and maybe you can even feature the car that you drive. So we're going to call this quick little feature a way to acknowledge you guys and thank you guys a shut up.
Shut up!
Shout out. That's right. Just email me your name, the city and state that you're from, just a quick hello from us. And if you want to say what car that you have or a car that you had, let us know as well. Also use that email if you want to send in a rides picture for our Tuesday night shows. You can also use that email for business considerations. Shut up, shout out. A new feature, we'll try and make it that way, every Sunday right here on Coffee with Conti. So, Buddy in Oshawa, Canada, thank you so much for watching, man.
Shut up!
Yeah, the whole idea with that is just to list a whole bunch of people, bam, 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 and just acknowledge you guys the best that I can, because it really gets me excited that we have the opportunity to be here with you. And the fun that we're having, talking Corvette and sharing your experiences and mine, it's pretty cool, man. So what's not cool is kind of what we're going to share with you, but I think it was a great interview. This is going to be one of those series that we call Ricky's Rewinds. This goes back to July 2020 when the guy in Florida's C8 was in for service at a Chevrolet dealership and the car fell off the rack. We talked with him. In case you missed that interview, it's a great conversation about the guy and his passion for cars and what happened to his C8 Corvette and how they resolved it.
I'm George, and we're in Cigar, Sarasota, and we're watching Rick Conti's Corvette vlog.
You've had a bad day, and nothing's going right. You've had a bad day. You've had a bad day.
You know what, guys, there's nothing cooler than talking Corvettes with a guy named Jake. Jake from Florida, what's happening, man?
Another night, man.
Absolutely.
Wind down with the family.
But hey, thanks for taking the time to talk with us. We've been wanting to talk for a while. Your situation has drug out longer than I think anybody, especially you, has anticipated. And we'll get to that in just a second. So just want to find out about you, the guy, Jake in Florida. I mean, what do you do for a living now, man?
Yeah, I work for ACCESSORY Incorporated down here in Jacksonville, Florida. They're headquartered up in Pax River, Maryland. And I write technical publications for the P-8 aircraft.
Oh, fantastic. Now, I know you've got a military background. I appreciate your service from the Navy. That's outstanding.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what I did when I was in the Navy. I was an electrician for the P-8 as well.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. And I know you've had some cool cars, even though you're a younger guy. What are some of the cool cars that you've had up until this point?
Well, my first car was a 1963 AMC Rambler. That was a fun little thing to mess around with on the farm with my grandpa. And then my mom's first car actually was a 1986 Chevy Charger. Little interesting little hatchback turbo. And I had that for a little while. I still have it, but I blew a head gasket on it back in 2013, and it's been sitting up in my parents' house ever since. So I mean, I've had all sorts of stuff, man. I think I've had 10 cars just since I've been in Florida since 2015. But
yeah,
I had a 2006 Daytona Charger for a little while, and more recently I had a 2013 LS3 Camaro that was pretty well built, naturally aspirated, made 489 and 535 at the wheel. That was a fun one.
Right.
I traded that in on a truck when I found out I was having a daughter. And then when the C8 came around, I still had a 98 GMC K2500 at the same time as my 2016 2500.
Yeah.
So I just decided, hell with the nice truck, I'll get the C8 since it fell into my lap and keep the old truck. And then obviously, you know, what happened from there. So. Right.
Well, the C8 Corvette, is that your first Corvette you've ever had?
That was my first Corvette. Yes, when the C6 Z06 came out back when I was in 6th grade, pretty much immediately found out that was going to be my dream car someday. And I had been looking for one, hadn't had one fall into a price range that I was comfortable with. And then I went and checked one out at the dealership that I purchased my C8 from.
Okay.
And just a little more beat up than I wanted it to be. So I decided to wait on it. And the next day they called and said, well, we have a C8 that just a buyer back out. So are you interested?
Wow. Okay.
I said, I'll be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, how about that? I was wondering how that came to be, either that you waited a year to get it, or a lot of people don't want to order because they don't want to wait. So you had a back out situation that was unfortunate for somebody else and ended up being pretty cool for you. And that's kind of what drew you and I to this conversation today, is what happened with your C8. So before we get into that, how many miles did you actually get on the car?
Well, so I was waiting for the the break-in period, obviously, to have any real fun with it. So I hit my 1,500 miles, and then more unfortunate side of the story, my best friend actually passed away up in Tennessee a couple days after that.
Oh.
So I found out the night before his funeral, a day after he had passed, basically, from a motorcycle accident, and decided to jet up to Tennessee and meet his family and friends. He was someone I had served with. So I jumped in the Corvette and head up there to near Nashville area. So I ended up doubling the miles on the Vet with that trip. And then I literally drove it straight from, I can't remember the exact town, but somewhere near the Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah.
In the Carolinas. I drove it from there. I ran the tail, as we were planning on doing together soon. And straight to my detailer down here in Jacksonville. Dropped it off there. A complete mess. It's been pouring both days the whole time.
Oh, man.
And that's when they put that nice black wrap on it and hit it with some ceramic coating. Got a couple good shots, and then I drove it from my detailer to the dealership because I got a squeaky noise in the front end and thought it was the radiator fan bearing. Turned out I was right, but about 3 hours after they diagnosed it, I got the call.
Hi, this is Greg in California, and you're watching Rick Conti's Corvette vlog.
We've had a bad day.
And we'll talk about the call in a second. For the short time that you did drive the C8 Corvette, did it meet your expectations? What were your thoughts on the car?
I mean, blew it away, honestly. I've never been in something that inspired so much driver confidence. It's just an incredible machine. The acceleration from 0 to 60 is ridiculous. It did, kind of fall on its face once you get up to around 80 to 100. That's when you start to notice that it doesn't have as much horsepower as some of the supercars you would see out on the road,
Right.
But for a base model car at that price, I mean, it's incredible.
So the call that you got, you really found out what happened to your car, and everybody watching right now knows that you're the guy that the C8 fell off a dealership rack. So you didn't find out first by the phone call, did you?
No, I did.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I assumed that you had found out through the Instagram post, and you were not happy about that.
Yeah, no, so it wasn't quite, that's not quite how it played out, basically. It's I got the call about an hour after I dropped the car off, like, hey, man, you're right, it's the radiator fan bearing, we got the new part coming in, it'll be ready tomorrow. Gotcha. And then about I have a missed call from the dealership, and I was like, well, wonder what they're calling me for now. So I called back, and it's they sent me straight to the GM, and he's like, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. We messed up. Your car fell off a lift, etc. I'd love for you to come down so we can talk about how we're going to take care of this. Just know we're going to make it right. And, we went from there.
Wow.
And then after coming in to see the car, they said, please, no pictures right now. We want to keep this quiet. I'm like, yeah, of course. And I don't want to, I want to know what's going to happen for me in this, obviously, before I go just trying to blast it around social media.
Right.
So, I wanted to give them a chance and keep it quiet and see where things can go. And then two or 3 days later is when the stuff showed up on social media, and that's when I was like, why is my car up on here? We both agreed we're not putting it out, because at that point that made me feel vulnerable, like, oh crap, they could think that I spread this stuff, and maybe they're not going to be as willing to help me out. I really didn't want to have to go through a legal battle.
Right, exactly. No, that's a good point.
So that's the part where I got a little miffed and kind of maybe spoke out of turn a little bit.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely wasn't a surprise from social media. I did learn the appropriate way.
Okay. So I know that they, let me ask you this first. Are you happy with the way that everything was settled in regards to that? Because when you and I first spoke, you said, hey, I know I'd like to just get it replaced with the C8, but that's just a near impossibility right now. So they had another remedy for you. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty excited. So I obviously this is all rumor based on what the Z06 is going to be, but hearing that the rumors of it being the naturally aspirated 5.5 and all that really seems like something that I would love to have.
Yeah.
So I mentioned to them, like, I know that it's going to be a long process to even be able to get me another C8, and most likely I'll end up waiting for a 2021 at that point, even just because everything's reserved.
Correct.
So I'm not going to just slide in and take somebody else's spot. That's not fair to them.
Okay.
So I was just like, hey, can you guys hook me up with an allocation for the Z06 and save me my deposit? So they brought it up to the CEO of the auto group, and he said, you can have the first Z06 slot in our auto group. So that definitely should end up being a pretty early VIN number there. It's a pretty large auto group, and they're going to do that for me at invoice pricing, and they said they're going to cover the tax, title, all that good stuff too. So I'll get a very good deal on a brand new Z06 whenever that comes, if that even is what it's called. But all that the deal says is a new Corvette. So
okay, but your existing car, the nuts and bolts as far as satisfying you, they paid off your car. Is that correct? And then
so actually that truck that I had traded my Camaro in on, I had only owned that for 5 months when this Camaro or the C8 fell into my lap, basically.
Okay.
I was looking for a C6, so I was going to just keep both. But I decided to trade the truck in for this, and I kind of took a big L on that one. But I was like, yeah, it's worth it. I'm going to keep this car forever at the time.
Yeah, right.
And so that was included in the sale price of the vehicle. So they covered all of that, which was really nice, as well as refunded me all the cash that I had invested and paid back my ceramic coating and the wrap that I had put on it. So
wow.
I got every penny that I put into it, including the negative equity from the previous vehicle.
So it does sound like they took good care of you, because I know that one time you were looking at a replacement vehicle of a ZL1 Camaro, and I think you ended up landing that you bought an 11 Z06. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. They actually took one on trade the day of or the day before the incident. So I never made it to the lot or anything. I saw it sitting out there, and I'm like, well, that's the car I was looking for initially anyways. That's a car that I've dreamt about owning for a very long time. So I was really excited to be able to get into it. It's a one-owner car. I think the guy was like 78 years old.
Oh.
So took really good care of it. Definitely needed some good touch-ups and everything, but the detailer down here is amazing. Am I allowed to do a shout-out for them?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Go right ahead.
Oh, man. Max Perfection Detailing down here in Jacksonville, Florida. They are incredible. They have done some absolute magic. I just got my Z06 back, so if you check that out on Instagram, you can see the proof on that one, and I'll be picking up my truck tomorrow as well from them. So they are wonderful. They do some absolute magic on these things.
That's great. Well, I'm glad to hear that you were able to actually settle it between you and the dealer, no attorneys, and it sounds like they went up and beyond to really, truly make sure in this unusual and very unfortunate circumstances that you were taken care of. So I'm happy to hear that, man. I really am.
Yeah, of course. They actually offered, I'm getting a 5-year maintenance package on the new car as well when it comes.
Okay.
And they're going to covering all of maintenance on this Z06 as well until that car gets here, to include tires, wipers, anything wearable.
Wow.
So
that's sweet.
they definitely took care of me. I'm not upset by any means.
And I know at one point you did get a phone call from an executive on the Corvette team from General Motors. What was that call about when he called you?
Yeah, he just wanted to make sure that I had a advocate up in at the executive level, essentially, in case they were going to take care of me, So that was I spoke with him, I think the day after I found out about the car, so it was very early on. So it was very nice to have some support. I haven't spoken with him since then. I would like to get a hold of him, but life's been busy, and trying to work out a time to get together is tough.
Right.
Obviously, you know that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm glad just to be able to talk to you now. Hey, if it was midnight I had to get with you, that would be fine. Yeah, that's cool. Well, and that's good, because I know the guy you're talking about is Jeff Strasser, and he is really all about the consumers, because I've heard him say it. If it wasn't for you guys, the customer, he wouldn't have a job. So this guy is a perfect representative for Corvette and really looks out for the customers all he can. So it was nice to hear that he reached out to you just to make sure that you were being taken care of. That's good, man. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was genuine all the way through, so it was a really good experience.
That's cool. Well, thanks again for taking the time with us. I know you got a new baby, and being a young guy, having a cool car like you have now, and another one coming, you're going to build some fantastic memories, man. Just be safe, and thanks so much for talking with us and sharing the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, man. You have a good night.
Well, guys, that's our show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I really appreciate Jake taking the time to talk with us and give us the backstory firsthand. Now, the fate of that C8 mid-engine Corvette, well, its historic life is over. It's now being sold for parts at a local junkyard.